Kaiserpunk, maybe the first real grand strategy city building game, because now you're not going to only build a city where you manage different tiers of population, multiple production chains, etc. You're also going to build armies that then play on the world map, and a real big strategy world map. I've already covered my review of the game as well as the tutorials. There are 3 tutorials, one on the city building aspect, one on the world map, and one taking it all together. Don't hesitate to check this in the video description below. But today we start our first real let's play. We're going to create a completely new game. Where on the map? That's a good question. Now, choosing where you're going to start is quite important, because obviously, let's say we start in the middle of Australia or maybe South America, we're not going to have too many AIs probably next to us, versus if we start in the middle of Europe, there's probably going to be a lot of AIs close by that are going to attack us. But I think that's what's going to make the game a bit more fun. So let's go here, Central Europe, right? And we can choose different maps. I think it'd be good to have a map that has a bit of water so that we can, have ports and things like this. So, I'm thinking Dublin looks nice, right? We have nice landmass over here, a river, but we also have a nice, the access to the sea, basically. So let's continue. You can choose your leader's name and your city name. We're going to go with Christophe our name and Beard Spring as our city name. Thank you, Christophe and Beard, for your amazing support as YouTube members for a very long time now. And then we have something very cool, which is over here, the heritage. We can choose between all of these, and each of these will give us some bonuses and some maluses. Now, at the end of the day here, there's no good or bad choices, right? Everything is going to come with pros and cons. But I'm thinking we're going to go with the Empire of Steel, which will help us with the production of military vehicles and aircraft. It's going to reduce the upkeep of garrison, improve the production of our ore mines. So it's all around, the military. And because of this, on the other side, we're going to have a penalty on our agricultural production. So we're going to need more farms. But I think we have space, so hopefully that should be fine. Then we can choose our flag. There is no randomness over here. But you can choose things, you can choose any colors that you want. And then last but not least, over here we have the difficulty setting, where you can first of all choose a preset from normal to impossible to very easy. We can also then change a couple of things. For example, I can say, okay, we're going to get a bit more of starting resource so that the first episode is easier. But on the other hand, I could say that, the construction are going to cost more, or the AI difficulty is going to be higher. Right? You can choose all of this. And then last but not least, we have victory conditions. We can say, either faction conquest, diplomacy victory, or scientific supremacy, all 3, or, a subset of this. I think we're going to say we need to really have faction conquest, basically kill everybody else if we want to win. Europe, the ashes of war, once home to great civilization and the bastions of various scientific ventures, now lies in ruin. Greed, envy, and wrath manifested, and Tatooine gave birth to monstrous force, the World War, the First World War, right? Which aimed to end all wars and did long-lasting civilization instead. Now Europe lies in ruin. Once glorious cities reduced to rubble, forests turned to cinder, on meadows transformed into ashes. So this is basically another kind of the heritage, let's say, right? We have the heritage of a faction. We also have the heritage of the place, of Europe, where the production of needle resource is minus 20%, the production of ore mines, oil pump, and water pumps is minus 20%, and the cooldown is plus 20%. So not great at all. But here it is, similar to the tutorial, we start over here with just 1 town center. We have also a couple of ruins everywhere, which we can salvage and sometimes repair. And we can also see on the minimap many of the resources. For example, gravel over here, we have 2 gravels. Let's check on this one. We have zinc here. Right, so there's resources pretty much everywhere. There is no AIs on the map, right? This is just our map where we're going to do our city building, but we can see all of the AIs there. We haven't met any of them at this point. And everybody starts, with similar things, right, in terms of points, etc. If we go to the world map, again, we don't really know where they are, but there may be some pretty close. So we're going to need to be careful. We have Central Europe right now. We're probably going to want to expand into France, I'm French, so we're going to want this, but it is defended, right? There is, first of all, there is an army over here. There's 2 militia, but still, and there is also some defenses, right? We can see over here, those 3 garrison of defense, so that's not going to be great. We're going to need to be careful there. We can, by the way, also see and plan what resources this is going to give us. This is going to give us fish, lead, and steel versus the Alpine, Apennine. I thought it was the Alpine of the Alps, but no, it's still Italy. But anyway, it is going to give us grapes, zinc, and steel, so quite different. Anyway, right now, the priority is definitely not on this. The priority is to go back to our city and start, having some population. We have not access to a lot of things right now, because if we look at our development goals, here we are at level 0 across the whole board, right? So we're gonna want to get definitely to level 1, level 2, etc. to unlock many new things. To unlock cotton, for example, with agriculture, to unlock over here the zinc mine and copper mine with manufacturing, etc, etc. So yeah, let's get started with a couple of laborers' house. Now we have, I guess, let's go over here. We don't have a lot of plywood, so we need to keep that in mind, and we're also very low on bricks. So yeah, let's keep that in mind. I do think we should have, a couple of houses so that we don't have to build many all the time, and a small road to get us started here. And then, I'm gonna go pretty far. It's fine. It is going to cost us some upkeep per day, but it's not too bad. Oops. That's fine, we can delete it later. Now that we have a few people, we can actually salvage some of those ruins, and that will give us some resources also. But before we do this, right, let's remember that we want to make sure that our people have a high morale so that they start paying taxes. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. For them to have a high morale, pay taxes, we're going to need to make sure they have vegetables, they have bread, right, and as well as clothes and newspapers. We're not going to be able to do it all right away, but definitely we can start, with the farms. Before that, though, as I mentioned, we have only 170 left of plywood, so we should probably do a plywood production as soon as possible. Now I'm looking a bit at the different, resources we may have. So this is a pretty open space here, so that could be for agriculture. Here I see a couple of mining resource. We have the iron. Yeah, we have iron. Okay, so yeah, it feels like this is fine to put over here foresters. One forester should be fine for start. So let's put one forester. And then in the heavy industry over here, we've unlocked already a couple of things, including the lumber yard, right? That's definitely going to be a very important one. We will want also a depot, but we can get started with some lumber right away. The depot is over here. I'm thinking put it over there. It's not that great. Let's put it here. Okay, and a quick road here. That's enough. Okay, so unpausing the game now. We're going to start making 16 of wood over here. We're going to use 4 and 4. We could actually even have more of these, but I'm going to wait a bit because right now we don't have a lot of laborers, right? We're already negative, so let's wait for this. And in the meantime, let's start with the food production, starting with vegetables, and then hopefully we're going to go into grain too. Which one is that? Oh, the forester, yes. So, this is going to be the city here. We can put it as far as we want, doesn't matter that much. The only thing is we're going to need another depot in the future. But again, I think this is not bad to not put this too close to the city. So we have space to expand the city in the future. Okay. Let's put this one back here. One. In the future, we can have a second one. And I'm spending a bit more than I could over here, but this is all for the future. Okay, so it is. We have now production of vegetable that should get started. And if we go into our stock overview panel over here, we can filter by produced, and we can see that the vegetables, right, we're only using 1 right now. Producing 8, so all good there, right? No problem, no problem. The population, by the way, we have this objective to reach 100. We're halfway there. I'm thinking we may want to start increasing again our plywood production. We can use the copy over here. Oops, that's bad, but we can move it in a second. Okay, yes, we're low on plywood already. So this is why I'm thinking really to have a big production of this. And with this, we have reached our first development level in transport. We've unlocked the gravel road and the market. Okay, we may want indeed to build a market soon because that could, save us into the future. And it is. We've built a 4th one here, and we've reached 100 population. So Arthur Mitchell, that is, here to help us, says, by taking this first step, you've ensured our survival. In time, we'll know greatness, but for now, we'll be satisfied with just survival. Thank you, Governor. It's time to choose an area that we'll focus on first. European lands were often called breadbasket because of their soil fertility. Bountiful lands were turned into barren wasteland by the war, which we could replant and produce food in large quantity. We could turn also our side towards rebuilding the industry. fires of various industrial facilities were extinguished by the ravage of the war. Grant will make sure our efforts are not in vain. Here is Douglas Howard, another of our supporters, and he says, bollocks, pardon my French, if you want we could rebuild our military might. Though it might seem unwise because everyone is still recovering from the Great War, which never ended. They usually say that for harm is for one, or something like this. So basically, it's better to have defenses before the problem comes. But I think, honestly, we should focus on our food first. Let's make sure people can eat. Then we can make them work. Then we can make weapons. Hopefully, I'm not going to regret that. But yeah, I think this is my goal. He's giving us a bit of cash to help with this. We don't really have a problem of cash. That's fine. And we are actually already producing vegetables. So that's not a problem. Here it is. It's already starting. We haven't started on the bread though. So that can be our next one. Now we're going to do, I think, vegetable on this side, bread on that side. See, there is 2 entrances to that building. I think we will turn it. This is 1 tile too big. Okay, that's fine. I think here, as I said, we're going to turn it like this. We can then have another farm over here. And what we're going to do is hopefully soon we can unlock the flour mill and the bakery so that we can make some food over here, because we don't have that yet. It requires agricultural level 2 and we are just about to get to level 1. Now you may be wondering, how do we do this? Well, basically you can see over here we have 8 points. We're gonna get 8 points soon because we built another thing, and actually let me show you over here. This is here. So a farm is 4 points, so we build 2. Oh no, this one is actually 4.5. I'm not sure why they're saying 8. I think we should be 8.5. But anyway, the point is every time you build something, you get some points, and then with time you gain even more. I don't really think we need another farm right now. But what we can potentially do is take it and then pause it. I don't know if that gives us points, but at least it's built for the future. It used all of my plywood though, so we may want to actually go ahead and build another forester, because now we're going to be using all of our wood. So that we have even more plywood. We can also, of course, increase our speed, right? We are now at speed 2, now at speed 3, so that everything goes further. One thing I do want also to mention, if you haven't seen my tutorial, is that this depot, like in anno 1800, is going to send some transport. We have 4 transport in the case of this one to get the resources. What we can do though to make it better, more efficient, need basically less of these trucks, is to put the buildings in one production chain close to each other. What do I mean by this? Well, basically the forester here is in range of these 2 buildings there, right? You can see it is in the range. It's not in range of that one, but it's in range for these 2. And therefore we don't even need a truck to deliver the wood from here to there. It just goes automatically. So what we may want to do, if we want to be slightly sneaky, is use again our move tool here to put it maybe one over there, and we can check the range. Maybe over here would be enough too, so that we need less truck. If I do it over here, I think they will all be in range now. Just need a road. You need a road for everything. So here it is. And yeah, with this, we're gonna hopefully need even less trucks. So the trucks will be focused on just getting the resources instead of delivering the wood. Okay, so with this, we have unlocked the flour mill and the bakery. So we're going to be able to upgrade that production. And as always, keep in mind that, for example, this is producing 10. This may not be requiring 10, right? So it may not be a 1-to-1. You do want, on the other hand, to put it probably as close as possible, to this corner, so that you don't need trucks to deliver this. But then at the end, it can go into the depot. So I'm thinking we're going to do something like this, because I'm pretty sure 2 is fine for 1. We can check that in a second. So this is going to use 5, and this is making 10, right? So that should be exactly what we need. And then next one is the bakery, and we can see the production here, right? With flour, we can make bread. If we had flour and fruit, we could make pie. In this case, again, pretty easy. We're just gonna make that one. I'm thinking we're gonna put it like this. It's not exactly, using the whole space. Maybe if I move it, all right. If I move it like this, no, it's not going to be no space. So let's keep it like this for now. But yeah, we're very low on laborers right now, but this is also mainly because this is probably way too much. So let's pause part of it, right? Because we don't need it, but in the future we can use it. Because again, this one, I think this is using 3 flour, and this is producing 8 flowers. So yeah, with just one of these, you can have multiple of those bakeries. So we're going to put, I think, a lot of bakeries over here in the future with just one of those farms. And yeah, with this, we should be starting to make some of these bread pretty soon. I will put a few more houses over here. Let's start with just 2, because I don't think they're full yet. We look over here. Oh, these ones actually are full. Sorry, my bad. They have a pretty good morale because I think we started with some reserves of all of those things. But we need to make sure that we start producing, all of those things ourselves. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Speaking of which, I mean, I see that my plywood is pretty good. So yeah, probably as soon as we start making some bread, we can move into some other productions. We did unlock the manufacturer's house too, but not yet the laborer's high-rise. So I'm going to put a few more of these very basic houses. We may have to move them in the future, but that's fine. I'm not too worried. Up and done. Okay, with this we should have enough people, and here it is, we're starting to make a lot of bread. So we're going to finish this mission in a sec and move to the next one, which again, I think in my mind at least, would be to start making some clothes and also newspaper. For the clothes, we can actually, because we need the cotton field and we've just unlocked it. This will require water though. Anyway, rationing and starvation are things of the past now, Governor, but people are now enjoying a variety of food and their overall health has improved. Life is good as it is, but people would like to enhance it with some luxury. Oh, Rosalind Hayes, okay, another of my, advisor, I guess. You have been frugal for long enough. I think it's time to loosen some restraint. It's for our people. We wish for them the best in the world. So yeah, they want the newspaper now, and then later some clothes. The newspaper is also linked to the wood over here. So I think we're gonna start expanding this one. We have, yeah, let's just put it in the back, like, I'm thinking we may want to move this guy just one pile. So we have a road like this. And then maybe we keep that one, go all the way there. I know I haven't done any of these, by the way, but it's also because I don't really need the resources right now. When we need them in the future, we can do it. But yeah, we have a new production of wood. And, if you don't know how to make newspaper, I wouldn't blame you. It's fine. You can find it over in this button over here. You can find everything. And we can say, okay, newspaper, how is it made? It's going to be made in a printing press using some paper. The paper, is made over here into this paper mill. So then if I click on the paper, I can see it's made into the cellulose. The cellulose is using wood. So this is the production chain. So it is. I think, we're going to have wood over here, and we don't really need to deliver the wood to there, the cellulose to there, because we're going to transform the cellulose. So I think what we're going to do is maybe something like this. I'm just going to move that one quickly too. Oh, I missed. Yeah, put it like this, that's fine. Just need to extend one and done. So we're gonna again take some wood, make some cellulose. Out of the cellulose, in the future we can have multiple of these, but for now let's just keep one. I forgot where it is. It's not over here. It is over here. So we have the cellulose, then we're gonna transform it into paper. This is not a great. Let's put it like this. And then the paper will go into the printing press. And as I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure this is not the one-to-one ratios for all of these buildings, but for now it will be enough, right? Because we don't want to also overproduce too much. And we have built everything, but if we look, there is a problem. There is this icon on top of them, and if you hover over them, you'll see the building is not working properly because no power station nearby. Indeed, if you look at each of those factories, they require, some cash in terms of upkeep. This one some wood, this one some cellulose, etc. But they also all require a third resource, which is electricity. Right now we have no electricity in our city at all. And on top of this, electricity needs to be actually close by. You need the electricity to be close to those productions. So that's what we're going to do over here now. In utilities, we have the windmill to actually produce electricity, and we have the power substation to give it to my people. So I think we're going to do over here, there's not a lot of space, it's fine. We're going to do things like this, like this. I know I'm going a bit overboard, but we're going to need, oh, I missed this, okay. So here it seems that it is not possible, my bad. So we're going to need to move it somewhere else. Move it there. In the future we can always make a different production, but here it is. And then this one too is in range now, and it's also in range of this, so they should be starting now. Let's see, it takes a second for the electricity to start. You can see over here, right, it's going to take a second for this to actually produce some electricity. and then they will all start. We can also quickly delete this. This is not needed. And while actually, it takes a second for this to start, I did spend also a couple of minutes just rethinking quickly this corner. I mean, this farm used to be over here. Now I'm trying to make, a very efficient, basically, layout, because this is producing 10, which means we can then have 2 of these flour mill. Both of them, I'm putting in range of the grain field, so there's no truck that's needed between those 2. And then, this flour, producing 16. So that means we can have 5 or 5.3 bakeries, because each of them is using 3. So that's what I've done over here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see that most of them are actually in range. I mean, this one is in range of both of these meals. This one, both of these 2. This one is in range only of the first one. Same here, it's in range actually of both. That's interesting. That's in range of both. No, this one is also in range of both. Sorry, my bad. And the only problem is that one over here is actually not in range of them. So this one will require, trucks. But apart from this, there's going to be only trucks needed to deliver the output. So this is going to be a very efficient one. This is also, mostly paused, right? We have 1 of the 2 meal paused. We have 3 out of the 5 bakeries paused, because we don't need so much right now. But in the future, we can just start unpausing them. And then on this side, this is not connected to a road. Sorry, my bad. So yeah, the cellulose factory will start. Here it is, creating some cellulose out of the wood. Then this is going to be transformed into paper and then into newspaper. Once this is done, we can check, if we are making enough or if we're gonna need to have more of those productions. So it is, we can check that we are producing 5 and we are using 4. So we are in positive, not by a lot, but we are in positive. Similarly for the paper, actually we're producing 10 and using 5. So an easy one is going to be to place another newspaper production. I also see that my vegetable is the only one in negative. So we should probably fix this. This was over here, right? We just unpause this one, and now we're going to have more vegetables. And as I said, a quick and easy one we may want to do would be to rotate that one here and copy it like that. Put a quick road and done. They should be in range. Yeah, both of them are in range, so that's good. Perfect. So that should make definitely enough clothes and not clothes, newspaper, sorry. And this is why now we are looking at these clothes. This is the fourth and final goods that is needed for laborers. They have at this point enough vegetables and bread. We are making newspaper, so this is going to start increasing back up, but we need the clothes. So the clothes is going to be a production again. You can check over here if you're not sure, right? It's gonna be made out of the cloth, and the cloth, if we click on it, right, we can see that the cloth is gonna be made out of cotton, and we can see that the cotton is part of this one here. We have the cotton field, right? So that's what we're gonna do. Let's see, should we put it over here? We may need electricity for that one, I'm guessing. You can actually check production building. This one requires electricity, yes. So for electricity, we already have a substation there, but not a lot of space. So I think we're just gonna have to make another substation. All of these buildings obviously cost upkeep, but at the end of the day, it's better, in my opinion, to have dedicated production for each stuff. I mean, let's... no, not here. We don't need electricity there. I think we're gonna need electricity in the future. More over here, there is some some coal and things like this. So yeah, let's put it here. This is gonna be the cotton. And then we're gonna transform the cotton into cloth over here. Again, this is probably not a 1-to-1 ratio, but to get us started, this should be enough, right? So this is in range of that one directly. This is in range too, and actually they're almost in range of this one. That's a shame. If I put it over here, it's gonna be in range. So maybe we do this right now to limit, my negative balance, and we just need the road over here up, and yeah, that should be in range. Yeah, this is in range, so it's fine. Oh, this one is actually not in range. Sorry, my bad. So that's not good. I guess we don't really have a choice. I mean, we could move this one over here, but then these guys wouldn't be in range. So now let's just create another depot. It's fine. Depots are not really the thing that costs tons. I mean, it is an upkeep of 600, but you can use it for many different buildings, right? Not just one. Anyway, so it is. I think with this, we should be able to produce clothes and clothes. Then the only question is how many. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. Look at the cotton plantation. It requires water. So we're gonna need the second type of utility over here, the water pump. We can check there is a water production over here, not production, but deposits. I think the closest is that one. Oh, but it's on the other side of the river, so we're not gonna go there. I guess I'm gonna need to have a big road to go all the way over here. That is very far. Where are you? Oh my god, that's gonna be the biggest road ever. Yo, it's all the way here, okay. Now this building here just requires nothing. It has a reserve, so at some point it's gonna get empty, but it just now requires a road. Oh, that's gonna be a so big road. Look at this, the upkeep is increasing slowly but surely. 200, oh my god, I'm gonna be negative. Okay. Okay. So we are starting to make some water. Let me just delete this while we're here. We do not need to create a water tower close to, the production. We need it close to where it's needed. So that's gonna be over here. And now they should get started. Here it is. We do see that we're missing a bit of electricity. So let's add one more. Maybe over here. It's fine. Just need to extend that road by one tile. Here it is. Okay, so we're in positive electricity, positive of water, all good there. And that should start the production of clothes. The only question is it enough? But we need the production to start to know if it's enough. I do see that we are pretty low on laborers and we are low on money. So one thing we can do is actually increase a bit of population with these high rises. So I'm going to show you in a second. Let me just connect it to a road. There it is. So these laborers' houses, you can have 30 people in there. These high rises, you can have 80 people. It takes slightly more space. If I showed you a house on top of it, right? So it's less than 2 houses, but it's more than 1. It's 1.5 basically. 1.5 houses, but it is way more in terms of population, right? Because if I do 1.5, that would just be 45, sorry, and this is 80. So yeah, with this, again, we're gonna get a bit more population, also a bit more taxes, and we just need to make sure we produce enough. But hopefully, yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. Our only problem is paper, but that's fine. That's an intermediate resource. Newspaper, we're totally fine. Bread, we're fine. Vegetables, we're fine. So yeah, all good there. We just need to wait for the close to start. And it is, ladies and gents. So Rosaline is happy, and more importantly, our citizens are elated, very happy. They can afford some of the luxuries they had before the war. Happiness is sky high, Governor, and they have you to thank for it. And happiness is important because it's basically linked to your income. The higher the happiness, the higher the income. Our laborers have limited skills, Governor, and we can't rely on them to complete complex production tasks. That's why we should bring in new people, one with the much needed skill set. Indeed, next mission is going to be to have 100 manufacturers. But I think that will be in the next episode. I think this is great to stop the first episode over here. We have created a small city, very well organized, of both normal houses and labor high-rises, and we're giving them everything, right? We're giving them both types of basic foods, the vegetables and the bread, and we are giving them the 2 luxury that they want. One is over here, the newspapers, and the second is on this side, which is the clothes. This has required us also to start making some electricity and some water. We've also made a big production, of lumber yard, so that's great. We're gonna be ready for the future with this. And yeah, in the next episode, we're going to start moving into manufacturers. Do not hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, photo requests, and come back tomorrow for the next episode.